may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, I really need to remind y'all, the videos that we are going to be making for the rest of the week after this one are going to be centered around our Instagram DM questions. We are going to be making a video where I look at your rosters, I give you suggestions with trades if I think you need to be moving anybody in or out of your starting lineup. We will also be making a video where I answer your start-sit questions. We will also be making a video where I answer your trade questions. So if y'all are not already, maybe we have some new listeners to this channel that have not, please make sure you go follow me on Instagram. Do not DM me right away. I will let y'all know when we are looking for those questions based on the video by putting something on my Instagram story where I will say, swipe up with a screenshot of your roster, swipe up with the start sit question, swipe up with the trade question, whatever we're looking for, you will see it on my story, and then that is when you'll send it. And I'm not going to be able to DM everyone back. I'm very sorry, but we just get so many each and every time that what I have to do is I just have to go through, pick 4 or 5 of each topic, and then make the video centered around that. But yeah, that's about it. Let's get into this video and let's talk about 5 wide receivers that we need to be jamming into our starting lineups in week 9. And let's start it off with Tyler Lockett. And guys, I know some of y'all are rolling your eyes with Tyler Lockett, but hear me out. The only reason that I am talking about him whatsoever is because I've been getting obnoxious questions during our live stream saying, do you think I can rely on Tyler Lockett going forward? Is he a little bit too up and down? And yes, guys, Lockett is going to be volatile week to week just because we are seeing Russell Wilson really go out and just attack whatever the defense is giving him, whether it's going to be a DK Metcalf game, whether it's going to be a Tyler Lockett game. It is something that's going to be a little bit harder to project, but going to play the Buffalo Bills, I think there is no excuse whatsoever to take Tyler Lockett out of your starting lineup. Even after only seeing 33 receiving yards this past game, what we have to understand is even if Tyler Lockett does go out and disappoint you some weeks, those weeks where he hits, he is going to be able to single-handedly win you your fantasy football matchup. So there is absolutely no reason to be avoiding that because at his floor, this is still a wide receiver that's giving you about 8 fantasy points in a week, and that is not going to completely kill you. Yes, if you have a very close matchup, it's not going to help you at all, but still, guys, please do not be worried about the volatility. Do not really be thinking about ever taking Tyler Lockett out of your starting lineup. He is a top 10 wide receiver for us the rest of the season. And actually, we have DK Metcalf having the tougher cornerback matchup out of the two going up against the Buffalo Bills. So who knows? Maybe this is one of those games where Tyler Lockett is going to put up 40 PPR points, just knowing that he's playing with probably the second best quarterback in the NFL. There's no reason to take a wide receiver of this caliber, a wide receiver in this type of situation out of your starting lineup, regardless of what is going on. Okay, now our next wide receiver, this is a little bit more interesting to talk about. Chase Claypool. Now, Chase Claypool is coming off a performance where he saw almost 10 targets. He had 5 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And yes, I know with Claypool, if we look 2 weeks ago, we saw this be a wide receiver that got no action whatsoever. He actually ended week 7 with negative receiving yards, but that's why I told y'all to go and target him in trade because we knew that Chase Claypool was going to bounce back. If you looked at that Tennessee Titans game, they actually used Malcolm Butler. They actually used a safety to also go out and bracket against Chase Claypool to really shut him down, and that's why Ben Roethlisberger was able to just go and feast against that Tennessee Titans team with Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster. But when we are looking at all of these wide receivers for the rest of the season, I think that we have to understand that the target share is going to be a little bit volatile week to week, very similar to what we're seeing with a DK Metcalf and a Tyler Lockett. Yes, there are most likely going to be 1 or 2 wide receivers going to be sitting out in terms of getting that locked and loaded target share for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this week against the Dallas Cowboys, I actually think that we could see all 3 wide receivers be productive. And I know a lot of people are coming out and being worried that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get to such a large lead where they are able to just run the ball and control the game with their defense. And they don't have to ask Ben Roethlisberger to throw the ball to a Chase Claypool. Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. But here, I have to ask y'all, if they get to that large lead, where say maybe they're up 3 touchdowns to the Dallas Cowboys in the fourth quarter, and they were able to take Ben Roethlisberger, Chase Claypool, Juju, and Deontay Johnson out of the game, how did they get to that lead? They got to that lead by putting up points on the board. They got to that lead by scoring touchdowns. So if that does happen, yes, it's going to cap the overall upside that we could see from these wide receivers this week. But we have to understand that they would have already had that production to get to that point. This is very similar to what I said last week about the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs, where so many people were just really worried that Tyreek Hill was not going to be able to produce because they were going to get up to a monstrous lead, and then we were going to see all the starters sit in the fourth quarter. And this is exactly what I told y'all. Guys, it doesn't matter if they get to that lead, because by getting there, they've already had their players go out there and score those points. Okay, now our next wide receiver, I am banking on being a bounce back wide receiver for us this week, Justin Jefferson. So with Justin Jefferson, he's coming off a performance where he saw less than 30 yards, 3 receptions, and yes, what I actually liked about that performance is he actually was able to command the same amount of targets as an Adam Thielen, and Justin Jefferson was the one dealing with Jair Alexander. So what that tells me about this last week is Justin Jefferson, coming out of bye, has fully cemented himself as the wide receiver 1 in Minnesota. And yes, we did not see the production be there just because Dalvin Cook was able to go and put that game to the, just absolutely in that game right from the beginning. I don't think that we see them able to do that this week, just because it is going to be very, very hard to project a team to be able to run the ball with that kind of efficiency, to be able to put away a game that early. So I think we see the Minnesota Vikings regress a little bit, where we see Justin Jefferson getting more targets because Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw the ball more than 14 times. And if that happens, I think there's going to be nobody on the Detroit Lions secondary that is going to be able to slow down Justin Jefferson. I am very confident in saying that he is a wide receiver 2. Very similar to a Chase Claypool, he is going to be volatile. Like at the end of the day, if we see another stat line where he has 3 receptions for 30 yards, it's not going to be extremely surprising. But at the end of the day, if we look back and see that he had 8 receptions for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think that nobody's really going to bat an eye, because Justin Jefferson has showed us that he has that kind of talent. Okay, now our next wide receiver is going to be Allen Robinson. Now this should be a no-brainer. Allen Robinson having one of the best matchups that he'll see all year, going up against the Tennessee Titans, who are so bad on the defensive side of the ball that they were not able to go and sack Joe Burrow once in week 8, and the Cincinnati Bengals had 4 offensive linemen missing that game. So I think with projecting this Tennessee Titans pass rush, it's going to be very hard for them to get to Nick Foles. So I think this is going to be one of the very few games where we can see the Chicago Bears be successful in throwing the ball, and that's because we are going to see them playing from behind. The Tennessee Titans should be heavy favorites in this game, and by them putting up points on the board, we know that the Chicago Bears are going to have to come out here. They are going to have to try to air it out to keep up with Ryan Tannehill, and when that happens, I don't think we expect the Tennessee Titans passing defense to really be able to do a lot to limit Nick Foles. I know that's absolutely crazy to hear, just because we've come to expect really nothing from the Chicago Bears team so far, but with Allen Robinson, I may have him as a top 6 wide receiver for this week. Okay, now our last wide receiver, this is going to definitely be the most volatile play this week, but I think the ceiling is going to be there. This is going to be DJ Chark. So with DJ Chark, yes, he had his bye in week 8. If we go all the way back to week 7 to see what he was able to perform, he had 1 reception for 7 targets for a total of 26 yards. And what's absolutely brutal is I told y'all to start DJ Chark all the way back in week 7 as well. We are going to be doubling down in week 9, even without Gardner Minshew in this offense. I think that does lower both the floor and the ceiling combination for DJ Chark in the long run, but specifically for week 9, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming out of a bye with Jake Luton. We know that Luton is going to be one of these players that, yes, he does have a very, very low floor, but I think based on his arm talent alone, we could see it going out and really just being able to perform, because the Houston Texans have no tape on him whatsoever. The Houston Texans have an atrocious defense, and with DJ Chark, he has led the league in air yards before in a given week, knowing that he is pretty much getting all of the looks in the red zone for this this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. I think he does have a very high upside if we can see Luton put it together, just because DJ Chark is really the only member that's getting significant targets in the Jacksonville Jaguars receiving corps. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us out. And yeah, I'll say that we are going to be live streaming every single night this week, so I hope to see y'all there.